if we're trying to find the gradient of a curve or a straight line, we can draw it and see what it is, all right? So if we've got, let's start easy. What's the gradient of this line?
0.
0. So if we were drawing the gradient function of this line, we would say, okay, the gradient is 0 at this point, the gradient is 0 at this point, the gradient is 0 at this point. So that is the answer. So that would be our gradient if this was our function. All right? The gradient right along that line is 0. What is the approximate gradient of this line? Negative, a half, 1, 2, somewhere in that realm. So we'll just go with 1. But when we draw it, we say, okay, the gradient here is negative a half. It's negative a half all the way through. So that is our gradient function. All right? So that one was straight, gradient is 0 on the 0 line for y. This one was not straight, so it's a negative gradient. It's underneath the 0 line. If it went this way, it would be above because it's a positive gradient. And we have to approximately figure out what the gradient is. But sometimes it doesn't have measurements on it, so you can just sort of write it in. So then we get to the tricky ones. So we get a function like this. What kind of function is it?
Parabola.
It's parabola. It has a turning point or a vertex. Remember that ruler that I was talking about? We took the ruler and put it on here. It's quite steep. Coming down, it gets less steep or less what? The gradient is getting less negative. To the point where here, the gradient is, yeah, it's 0 and turning into and getting, okay, so if we translate that now into what would be happening for the gradient that we're going to draw, we know at this point here, the gradient is, okay, here's 0, right? This side's negative. Where's negative on my graph? Below the line, right? Very negative, not so negative, actually 0. A little bit positive, getting more positive. We're looking at this being the gradient function. All right, so you're driving your ruler along and looking at what the gradient of the ruler is. So if we get a really weird one, what's this? Good. So, where is the gradient 0?
At the bottom of the trough, or the top of the peak.
They're perfect answers. Bottom of the trough, top of the peak, right? That's when the ruler or the little thing that's driving along here is sitting flat. So at this point, it's 0. At this point, it's 0. All right? What's the gradient in here? That'll go on my video now. Never mind. So that's negative. This is, right? We're driving up the hill, it's positive. We're driving down the hill, it's, okay, so my graph has got to go positive, negative, positive. What shape is it going to be? parabola, well done. It's going to be positive. It's going to have to come back to here to be positive again.
Isn't that negative positive?
All right. So that's positive as in above. This is positive values. This is 0. This is negative values for the red one. So this is the gradient being positive, the gradient being 0, the gradient being negative. All right. This is an increasing gradient, so therefore it's positive. This is a decreasing gradient, so therefore it's negative. This is an increasing gradient, therefore it's positive. So that negative has to be below the line. Okay, you're going to have a go now.